Good morning. Today is the Sunday talk. During the pandemic, this is the three concluding points from my right contemplation of the Dharma amid in the pandemic. Simple and unadorned, erudite and broad, exactitude and profound. This is the point that I want to say is stand of a high position in the high attitude to see the Dharma, to see the Buddha and his disciple, and to see the pandemic, even to see that individual enlightenment. The first thing I want to say is from this high attitude to see things in this way is a very universal. I want to say it's a universal value. So in this universal values of simple and unadult, erudite and broad, exactitude and profound, these three characteristics, we know this. It's only for a small numbers of people's enlightened, or a small numbers of people's their thinking, their deeds, not the big general population or the majority of people can benefit to these three sentences. First thing I want to say is when we take a stand of high attitude to see these three things or three sentences, the Dharma. When we talk about the Dharma in Buddhism, means the truth is a very boundless, wise, and very deep, in deep gauge to see things, profound and deep. And then it is because of the Dharma is a very pure of his own purity. So people is not easy to have that kind of pure and that kind of plant. We are colorful of mind state. We are large of different habitual patterns to act wholesome, unwholesome. So to make ourselves in this very simple life, you know, very pure mind state and attitude, straightforward, it's not easy. So in the Dhamma, when we see the Buddha is wise and not have boundary. So his open heart is like that because of he already emerged with the truth. So his bodily and mentally showing is the truth. When we see what is the mentally merged with the truth, means inner, without an ego self pattern there, it becomes thingless nature. Means when you look into the mind itself, he don't have any standpoint. I said that without things in the mind, we can name it. So the practice of the Buddha is from the body, from the feeling, come to the mind, try to purify inner. So let all the inner obstacle, boundary, rising, ceasing of nature, he tried to penetrate to it. Eventually, not at all of greed and desire. So means his poisons, 3 poisons, what Buddhism name, hatred, ignorance, and greed, already been purified. So not at all in this what we worry and fear. We have the stress, but the Buddha, he's unsurpassed. He don't have that kind of stress in the daily life. So that is from their higher standpoint to see the Buddha and the great disciple who already get certain enlightened or fully enlightened, to showing that merge into the truth. So he have these 3 points, what I name as. When I do this right contemplating into it, it similarly can apply into the pandemic. Later on, I may sharing a little bit of the pandemic. What I will view by this Dharma. So right now I try to explain a little bit in Buddhist ways how I'm going to know this simple and unadult. I use the word AQ, means the personality who are very simple and plain can come into the Dharma. If he have a lot of colorful mind state, a lot of monkey mind state, not straightforward, and dignity, is not easy to understand the Dharma. So the Buddha times have some personality very important, human, then deities, samana, Brahma. This words have his own definition, very important in Buddhism. So human have good and wholesome character, but not as pure as deities wholesome character. And deity is more into individual or secluded or renunciate. So Samana and Brahma means renunciate and more go to isolate himself is Brahma. The individual apply into liberation. So when we see these 4 words, it have a lot of meanings of the what we call the human action. So human action need to contact to the senses, that is a human. If not, you don't need to contact into senses. In the tradition, Indian culture there are practice deities life, they are practice samana and Brahma life, means they go to renunciate, they go to secluded, they go to abide in the forest, abide in the cave, or abide in the boundary of the Himalaya, like that. So living alone and living in groups here have a challenge. Usually people or mankind, not many people can living alone. A lot of us in the whole life, 98% of his time and space is group, assembly, or living in the society. Not much time they go to retreat in the life too. As someone choosing in the practice or spiritual life, or someone go into aloneness, go to monastic, then they have more change, more percentage of his space and time putting into aloneness. So like today's pandemic, aloneness becomes that kind of habitual pattern, become a safety point to himself, safety point to his family and friend. If he can distance himself to them, it's more secure. But we are not easy to form this kind of habitual pattern, mind and body. So second one to say is from self-purification and transform others. This goal as a concept. Some can say transcend others and then purify yourself. Some is purify yourself. Of course, when self already purified, then it won't be disturb other. If there's no condition to disturb other, so it definitely will be benefit other. See, this is a role of practice, very important. So the third one is in the Buddhism, we talk two kind of acts. One is virtual deeds from the generosity, from the discipline or silak precept. Use the precept to model yourself, and then learn and practice tolerate and patience. This is called three fortunate action in the lives. If you can make that tolerate, precept, and generosity to form concentration, to form the mind, what we call that, balancing the mind and body in the wholesome action, then you will be pulling your life into enlightenment. Certain enlightenment of your weakness, what is good and wholesome. And you deny yourself mentally and physically involved into the unwholesome or the bad deeds. This is the first of enlightenment. So the second enlightenment is how you are involved in the practice and training as a skillful means of life. Means you are not follow the virtual deeds only, but you practice more higher spiritual trainings of what we call the samatha and vipassana. Means you try to use the skills of Buddhism maybe included Four Noble Truths of Noble Eightfold Paths and the 37 factors of awakening. That kind of more skills of training in order to sharpening your mind, to stillness your mind in order the daily life monkey pattern or thinking minds that it can be informed. Try to make it more sharpening in the Buddhist way. So when you're training that, it will let you more connected into the teaching of the Dhamma. The teaching of Dhamma means the truth. What is the truth? Interdependent coordination and the Four Noble Truths, and so on in the Dhamma seals. That will bring you into this, what I name it, 3 strong characteristics: self-awareness, self-discipline, and self-confidence. This last one, talking about self-confidence, means you're confident with the Buddhas as awakened, the truth of Dhamma as a truth, and the skills of training, discipline, samatha, and vipassana as a tool to guide your body and mind. So this is the first part I want to explain. The second part is from this eluted and broad, gentle, modest, and courteous. I quote this word from the Chinese, was try to explain, use the equivalent English term to say. But not much I can explain to in Buddhism. If anything that equivalent to this sentence is loving kindness and equanimity. During the right contemplation of myself, how I can change my attitude more directly close to the truth, I found my personality is very aggressive. Just not gentle too much, not modest too much, and not courteous too much. Because, you know, the mind and heart, you know, the emotion is not being purified too much, so that it cannot show this friendliness to contact to the world beings. Well, we need a lot of training. So the trainings to open up yourself broadly cover to all living beings. In Buddhism, we said that loving kindness and equanimity. So during the pandemic, if we want to say why we cannot solve the problem of the world, because the world leader who have power, who have authority, try to help your country, try to help people, try to help internationally. Really, we need loving kindness and equanimity in order to bring your mind and heart into more higher standing point, higher standing attitude. Try to skillfully help to overcome these pandemics or epidemic prevention. That is two things or three things I want to name it, but not much time I can explain. Is four pure adult, four ways of winning people in what I study in Dharma. But four great vows and four noble truths is, I think I will already have many times speaking in the past. Four noble truths is the essential teachings, basic in Buddhism. But when Buddhism spread into northern parts of India, from Afghanistan, come to Silk Road, come to China, they are more talking about four Greek vows. Just turn the Four Noble Truths into vows because of facing to two very strong culture or civilization. One is from Greek and Rome, one is from China. So Buddhism facing to another two strong civilization of the world, they adjust their teaching into action, into vows. So when we see this happen, then their culture or the Buddhist culture, it becomes so broad, cover into what? Cover into artist work, cover into a lot of professional skill in order to show the truth, the wholesome, the beauty, the noble into the training. So my conclusion is three observed characteristics: awaken others, co-governance, and magnanimity. Inclusiveness. So work together and try to be aware of others. Very important when a leader, especially political leader, spiritual leader, you want to serve, you want to guide your group, overcome the stress, overcome the problem. So need to say, sharing their understanding, sharing their feeling, very important. Unless you merge to them and make this comfort zone between you and others, between them, you can get their faith to you, you can get their trust and cooperate with you. Really, we need is these three characteristics to bring work easy. So I name it as EQ. We need to practice this EQ. One more I want to say is, this is a little bit profound, exactitude and profound. I put many things that to line up when I check this Dhamma with my right contemplation. I found that wisdom is the point. The second point is the path and the fruit The third point is the circle or the cycles of samsara. The fourth point is dependent arising into sadhanas of mental state. And the fifth point is unsuch path, nibbana, means the goal. Our practice is the path. And the result, the fruit, is the goal. It should be something that never touching in this life before. Like when we stand in the front of the table, food table, have a dish there. We see a dish of food. Before we taste it, we can't tell. We only can guess what is the taste look like. After you testing it, then finally you got the answer. So Nibbana is an answer from the Buddha. Tell he merged into with the truth. So we need to diligently bring ourselves come to testing or eating the food, get the nutrient from this food. Lastly, I want to mention is noble and precious is the human life. Buddhism is not mentioned about how much the God can do for us or where is the God's position of human life. Buddhism just mentioned about without checking any perceptions from exterior, but we need to purify the perception, the material base, what we have in order to enlighten ourselves, overcome the material and the perceptions, clinging or attachment. When the time comes, totally we need to transform into unbind position. That unbind position is Nibbana. So from this very life, we can do a lot if we put it into training. If we truly enlighten to ourselves, life is short. We really need to focus and put all the energy, focus into one. It might be that way success will be possible. So lastly, I want to say that is 4 practices and realizations. According to the Four Noble Truths, I bring this word in to encourage myself. That is letting go, taking responsibility, temple oneself and work hard, fearless of birth and death. Because of timing, I can't have much explain in this, but let me talk a little bit in the epidemic prevention of pandemic. During this COVID-19 in my life, it's a very challenging, but not stress, very challenging, because suddenly my actions in the daily life, so active I am, of traveling, doing basic foundations to welcome who interested come to Maba, join our service, and very active to do some working, try to maintain Maba's facility, try to open up myself in the teaching education program. A lot of things, just enough busy for the life. Suddenly, pandemic is here, so a lot of ways of life need to suddenly change into new pattern. So I found this, when we want to deal with pandemic, we also need to put our standing point into high attitude to see things. If we don't do it that way, then we cannot overcome problem. Especially right now, we see that in the pandemic, there is still no authority from time to time to the country, to individual, to group. There's still no such authority. If we have authority and people join into that authority is the truth, then it definitely can seize or can solve the problem of pandemic. For example, someone is have the faith of science. Someone don't have the faith of science. Even though someone said that pandemic is not anything important. And I heard Singapore's President Lee said, during the next coming future, Singaporeans need to facing pandemic COVID-19 as facing flu, similar like flu. Means that Singaporeans in the future need to stay with the pandemic COVID-19 all the time, like we stay with flu. Interesting. It means that everyone need to make yourself safe in order you save your family, you save all your neighbor and everyone you love. No matter you like or you don't like, you need to accurately have this skill in order you're going along with this COVID-19. So we see and experience how we handle it in the international level. Mutual benefit is because of you open yourself and try to help. If that is something that not in this way, then you learn it as a reflection. You make mistake more than you lost friendship, you lost the chance to seize up this pandemic. We see lots of world fail, and they have some success, like Israel, like Singapore, like China. They are more success. They are pattern of how to protect their people, how to, as an individual, how to act in the society. Therefore, they do the right thing. So here is what you exquisite and profound in the very accurate pattern to see what you can do with the pandemic. So individual freedom is not what we can see as a pattern that value. This is not universal value. The universal value is law. Under the law, you try to be free. If you think that, we don't need to follow any discipline, any principle, and have free, you make big mistake. As I am a Buddhist monk, so I am looking for free, but more profound meanings of free is mental free. As yourself already disciplined, under the discipline, under the law, then you get more free. Free from where? Free from the wrong action. Free from that chaos. I want to say it's like that. Free from where? Free from contact. So if you don't contact of the sensuality, sensual pleasure, you still find yourself free. That is the great free what I have. So lastly, I want to say, during this pandemic, what I can learn is renunciate or far from the melting cloud. How you can pull yourself out from there. This becomes the oncoming human's activity. If who can pull yourself far from the melting cloud, not involved into too sensual contacts or that's a sensual pleasure, you will be safe yourself, your family, and your country, your society. That is something that I have my contemplate on. I hope that this sharing will give you some, it makes sense to you. And if I have any comments, you may text me too. I would like to learn from you. Thank you.